Welcome to another Bukkit teacher tutorial. This time I'm going to show you how to install WorldEdit and WorldGuard. This was a requested video by one of my viewers. I forget who it is. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and get started. This time I'm not going to show you how to install the plugins because I'm sure you guys know how to do that by now. And if you don't, you can watch my YouTube video named How to Install Your First Bukkit Plugin. So go ahead and open your Minecraft server folder, and head on to your plugins folder, and then you'll see WorldEdit and WorldGuard folder that I've already installed. Also, WorldEdit, I'm using WorldEdit 5.0, and WorldGuard I'm using 5.4, according to the wiki that I downloaded it from. So let's get started. I'm going to start with WorldEdit real quick. Open the config file, and you'll see a bunch of stuff. So let's start off. WorldEdit is basically a cuboid plugin. It allows you to build stuff a lot faster. Say you're building a castle, you can build it a lot faster, but with WorldEdit, rather than by hand, or not really hand, but placing blocks one by one. So limits. This obviously limits what you can do. So -1 means it just disables it and allows you to have unlimited. So max blocks change. So this maximum, it'll allow you to how many blocks you're allowed to change. So if I set this to 50,000, it will allow me to change only 50,000 blocks. Anything above that, it will say you cannot do this. You have selected too many blocks. So -1 means unlimited, and you can select as much as you want. Max radius is for other commands like making spheres and cylinders, and so you can go ahead and set that as you're choosing. I'm going to leave it at -1. Max super pickaxe size, how big your super pickaxe can be. I'll just leave that as 5. Max brush radius, this is at default 5. I would increase this to 10. Unless this lags your server, I would decrease it again, because 5 is not very big for brush size. The WorldEdit brush is basically a stick, and you can easily delete blocks with it, or you can easily add blocks with it, and it looks sort of natural when you do it. Disallowed blocks. These disallowed blocks are not disallowed blocks in the entire Minecraft server. These blocks are just disabled from WorldEdit commands. So these are all blocks that are disabled through WorldEdit commands. So if I put 8, that means I disabled water from WorldEdit commands. So that means I cannot make a WorldEdit, or I cannot make a sphere made out of water, which is probably a good thing. So you might want to keep that because it could lag your server and also cause a big mess that you have to clean up later. Use inventory. Basically, it's asking you, do you want to use someone else's inventory or yours inventory for WorldEdit commands. Now, logging. Now, if you have untrustworthy mods that you have, which you shouldn't, and you should probably get rid of them right now, but if you want to keep them for some odd reason, you can log what they're doing by setting this to true, and it'll log every WorldEdit command that is typed through your server, and then you can go back and look and see who did what and what they did. Super pickaxe is another feature of WorldEdit. It basically allows you to destroy blocks in one click, basically like creative, but you must have a diamond pickaxe, and it'll You have to have a diamond pickaxe, and you can do / and it'll give you a super pickaxe. And basically it's asking you, do you want to drop items that are broken with the super pickaxe or not? And when you drop items, keep that as false. Snapshots directory. So if you're using a development build of WorldEdit, you can go ahead and put the link to wherever you installed your development build here. Otherwise, leave that alone, which most of you probably will. The navigation wand, it's basically like an ender pearl. It teleports you wherever you click. This 345 is a compass, and wherever you right click, it will, or wherever you left click, it will teleport you there. And max distance is how far you can teleport to. So this will only allow you to teleport 100 blocks, and you can increase this farther to like 1,000 or something. But I'd be careful with that because it could lag your server and make you crash and make the server crash, possibly. Also, scripting, just leave alone. Saving, this is default schematics. So if you want to like save your schematics, this is the directory that it saves in. So you can find all your saves here. You can change this folder name to whatever you'd like. It creates a folder and then puts the schematics in there. Schematics are basically objects that you save. You can Google search that if you don't know what it is. MC Edit uses it a lot. So history, history is basically using the undo command. How far can you go back until it stops you? So it'll hold up to 15 undos basically, and then how long until it expires. So I think that's 10 minutes, not for sure, but yeah, I'll just leave it as that. So now the main feature of WorldEdit is the wand. How you can select stuff and change stuff. Default, it's a wooden axe and lets you select certain areas. I would keep it as wooden axe. Most people are used to the wooden axe. No double slash. Most commands are in double slash. WorldEdit commands, anyways. For example, /undo is a command for WorldEdit. And if you don't want those two slashes, you can disable that by setting this to true. No op permissions, pretty self-explanatory. Set this to true, and ops won't have permissions for this plugin. And also, if you're having issues, you can turn on debug, which allows you to see the errors in the console. So that's about it for the WorldEdit configuration. Let's move on to WorldGuard. So WorldGuard, you can see we have two items in here. We got a worlds folder, which we'll go over once we're done with the config file. So let's go ahead and open the config file. And there's a lot of stuff in the config file to talk about. We're going to go through this briefly. Most of it's self-explanatory, so you can figure it out yourself. But some of it's not. So WorldGuard is basically a protection system, which you can create regions that are protected, so people can't build in them, and only the people who make them can build in them, or people who are added to the region that can build in them. So let's start off. We got protection. So ignore the first one, keep it true. So in protection regions, do you want item durability on or off? Basically is what it's asking. And also the next one, protection. In protection areas, remove infinite stacks. Basically infinite items, basically. So enable that or disable that. So you can set that to true or false. I'd keep that as false if you're using a survival server. Disable XP orb drops. So this will still allow you to go up ranks. No, actually, this will not allow you. So this will disable XP orbs for being dropped for killing mobs or whatever else if somebody dies. Disable obsidian generators. People can make obsidian generators with lava and water. Do you want to disable those or not? WorldGuard does have a chest protection system in place. If you're using LWC or Locket or any other chest protection, I would use your chest protection. Otherwise, it might conflict with WorldGuard. So you just keep this disabled if you're using a different chest protection. Otherwise, you can enable if you'd like. Physics. Pretty self-explanatory. Allow portals anywhere. I would change this to false. Default, it is true. Oh, yeah. I'd keep this as true so people can create portals anywhere. No physics for sand, which means sands won't fall. And the next one means gravel won't fall. So you choose. For creative server, I'd change these to true. These two middle ones. Also, disable water damage blocks means water won't affect blocks like rails. It removes rails once water is placed near them. So you can disable that by typing rails or the ID number in these brackets. Ignition. Block TNT block damage. Block TNT itself. Or block lighter. So if you're using, or if you have a creative server, I would disable all these, and if you have a survival server, I'd keep these as false. So regions, the protection regions, these are all using protection regions. So if you're allowing your players to protect regions, this will allow how many protection regions they can set. Currently, the default is at 7. Where can they claim regions at? So can they only claim them inside other regions, or do they have to claim them outside of other regions? Basically, that's what it's asking for. Invincibility removes mobs, which is God mode. Basically, will remove mobs. I mean, max volume. How big can the selected protection area be? I would increase this to about 300,000 because most areas are protected, or that are protected, are way bigger. But of course, you can change this if you'd like. High frequency flags. If you're using flags, I'm not going to talk about flags in this tutorial. They're pretty easy to figure out. Use schedulers. Leave that the same. And I would definitely enable regions. It's the most important part of WorldGuard. So if you don't have that enabled, it's basically a pointless plugin. So wand, I'd keep this the same as WorldEdit wand. Oh, that's one other thing I forgot to mention. You have to have WorldEdit installed before you can install WorldGuard. So make sure you got WorldEdit installed before you install this. Simulation, you can turn on sponges off and on with redstone if you set this to true, basically. Also, you can enable or disable sponges, and you can select the radius that you want them to soak up the water. So 3. I wouldn't change this to like 5,000 and put it in an ocean because it might crash your server. Alright, so moving on, fire properties. So you can disable the lava spread of blocks, basically same as the water options above. Disable fire spread, etc. Most from here to the bottom of the config file is basically self-explanatory. Maybe except this one. Pumpkin scuba basically means using pumpkins as scuba diving helmets, which means they can breathe underwater. You can set that to true or false. Just basically a random feature in WorldGuard. So you can disable properties of mobs. This will get rid of some flaws with the wolves. So fireballs, you can disable them. Block damage, creeper block damage. Disable enderman griefing so they don't pick up blocks. Dynamics, grass growth, ice melting, snow formation, etc. You can easily figure out what everything does. Blacklist, ignore that. This basically bans blocks, but I would use something like essentials or something other than WorldGuard, I guess. Weather, change the properties of weather, whether it rains, whether it lightnings, whether lightning starts fire. Pretty self-explanatory. Crops, disable creature trampling, disable player trampling. Op permissions, you can set this to false and ops won't have this stuff. Player damage, you can player damage properties, and pretty self-explanatory. So that's about it for the WorldGuard config file. You can go ahead and save this and exit out of it. Now let's go into the worlds. This will create a folder for every world you have on your server. So I have 3, the basic ones, the basic default ones: world, world nether, and world end. So under each world there's 3 files: config, regions, and blacklist. For each world there's a separate config file, and each config file can be different. So say you want to enable fire on the normal world, but you want to disable fire in the nether, which does make sense. But for example, so that's what you can do. You can set different properties for each world. This config file in the root of the WorldGuard folder, this config file is the default config file, and it will affect all the worlds unless something is changed in one of these config files. And then it will also still inherit these, but if something is changed in the other config file, it will use the world config files first before this one. So that's about it for setting up WorldGuard and WorldEdit. Thanks for watching, and also subscribe and leave more video suggestions. Thanks.